and welcome to Heather and Hops. My name is Kat and I'm a knitter based in Hertfordshire in the United Kingdom. That is little Audrey if you're new here. She just made a funny noise and I thought I'd best acknowledge that she's here with us today already. I hope you're well. I have been feeling a lot better since there's been an element of spring and a bit more light in the evenings here. I hope you've been sort of experiencing similar. Yeah, you might be able to tell if you've been around here for a while. I've shuffled our living room this morning after a run, which felt really good to get up on a Monday and be this productive. It is March the first day of March, which doesn't make sense. Obviously, you know, it's the first day of March, that it's just come around so quickly. I don't know, time is just warping and doing really strange things at the moment. Yeah, I have got myself a hot drink today. I have a matcha latte. I fancied something that wasn't quite as pungent in terms of caffeine as a coffee today, because I'm hoping after I've recorded today to sit and have not 11s, because I think by the time I've finished waffling it will be a bit past 11, but a cup of tea and an Eccles cake, and I think that'll be a nice little treat. And I wanted a little bit more space in my caffeine quota for the day. And this is a cup that I made a good while ago now. It's pretty hefty, and not actually, the base is quite thick, so it doesn't hold as much as it looks like it holds. But yeah, I like matcha. I find it a nice alternative every now and then if I want a cosy, creamy drink. So yeah, hi, it's lovely to see you. I have a few finished objects today, and I have a couple of whips and a couple of, I'm sure I'll make a decision, but it's really been nice to have a dialogue with you to help different thought processes along some of these decisions that I've had to make over the years. Yeah, it has actually been years now. And I believe this is episode 55, which I find it really hard to believe that I've sat down and chatted for half an hour at a time that many times. But hopefully we know each other quite well by now. So I have finished, driving straight in, my second sock. I haven't woven in the ends, but these are my Bluebell Yarns sock. It is a vanilla pattern, so I just made it up mostly. A standard wedge toe as I cast on. I knitted 1x1 stripes, so one colour of one colour, another of the next, and I did the helix method, and I found it really nice actually to have something slightly to look forward to. I know it's only slipping 3 stitches, but just seeing the colour change really made these, as far as vanilla socks go, quite interesting to me, and the yarn itself really helped. Rebecca is the dyer behind Bluebell Yarns. It's her own business, and she dyes on non-superwash based yarns, and I was smitten with this, and I've said it before, but I think for me personally I would be able to wear this right on my skin, and I think it would make a beautiful shawl. If you're looking for something maybe that's mohair and you don't fancy holding it double, or if you fancy holding it double, I think it would be lovely too. Anyway, so it is a vanilla sock. I've been trying to be a little bit more playful with how I'm knitting a sock. So here I've done a 2x2 rib as opposed to a 1x1 rib, and I've tried the eye of partridge heel for the second time on the second sock. This one is a little bit neater, still a little bit off, maybe with a bit of wear and a bit of blocking it might even out a little bit. I'm not unhappy with the result at all, and I really like the extra squishiness that it has been built up by doing the slip stitch pattern. Yeah, I can't obviously say anything about wear yet, apart from I'm really excited to wear them, and I will weave in the ends. But I am really chuffed. I know that there's a place for superwash yarn for a lot of people, and I do have, you know, plenty of superwash yarns still. Well, a lot less than I did have, that I will probably get through, and most of it will be gifted. And I don't ever want to be seen as being like, everyone should only use non-superwash. But for me, nature is really king, and I really want to learn about how the breed's different properties, you know, can be a bonus or can be applied to different items or accessories to show off what they do. And I'm surprised that the mohair and Corriedale, I have got a just Corriedale base, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that differs. So that was a little bit of a tangent, but I think that's quite interesting to me, and that's where I'm headed. And I would never judge anyone for any choices. I have just finished an acrylic jumper, which I wasn't going to share with you today, but I might anyway, just because I thought I would have too many objects to talk about. But yeah, I'm really, these are so tactile, I'm really enjoying how these yarns feel. The lack of nylon to me is actually really different in the hands, and there's a different, I don't really want to use the word energy, but it is, it's like, it makes me personally feel really happy using these yarns. So yeah, I'm really happy with how my no nylon sock project is going so far. I have worn my Garthenor socks, which were knitted in Snowdonia sock, quite a lot actually. I'm surprised how much I've been drawn to them and how they are holding up so far. They've been on walks, bike rides, on the barefoot, without shoes outside the house, because I'm a little bit of a terror, and you know, run outdoors to get the post, or just to stand outside and stare at the sun if it peeks its little face out at us. So yeah, I am enjoying No Nylon Sockland. It is a lovely place to be, and I'm quite happy to see other people either trying it because I've been talking about it, or myself, I'm exploring videos like Emma Robinson. Emma Thompson's a very different person. The dye behind Woolly Mammoth, Mrs M's Curiosity Cabinet, and there's quite a few more. And it is really interesting to start to immerse myself in that world. Yeah. I really hope you can't hear the builders today. Kevin has been shouting, or someone has been shouting at Kevin too. They've been having quite a conversation there's two building sites that are part of the same site, but they're just across the road from one another, but they like to shout. So I hope you can't hear them. Yeah, let's continue on. So with the weather being a little bit, it is definitely up and down, it is definitely more of a full spring rather than a real spring, but there are elements of that showing their faces. There was loads of daffodils this morning when I was out, and it was really happy to see, but I didn't get a photo because I just enjoyed them, which is kind of rare for me, I guess. And we had one warm day and it felt fully like spring was here. So I went back to one of my very few whips and I finished it. So I love Jessie May's My Secret Little Crop. I don't want to get the wrong one. It's the ribbed one. I'm actually wearing my non-ribbed one, and I don't know, I had success with this in the DK way. I wouldn't knit it again in fingering unless I held it double. And and I just find that the ribbed tops are more practical, and for some reason the sizing works better for me. So I started it a little while ago, and I have actually worn it, but I haven't blocked it because these are really useful for me. So this is the Secret Little Crop by Jessie May, and Jessie's recently had another set, so a top and short set release. But I get so much wear out of these as tops when the sun comes out and it's, you know, a bit warmer, but really good for layering as well. I actually opt to wear these instead of underwear because it's DK weight, it's plenty thick enough for me. I feel completely safe, and the shape works for me. It fits like a glove, and they go under everything. I've got a couple of mohair ranunculus that I wear with these, a cherry that I wear with these. I mean, I'm wearing it under this ranunculus right now. I just think they're a really handy knit. If you don't like crop tops, it's very easy to just add length. And yes, so the yarn, I do really love this. I really do. Which is surprising because I'm a bit of a semi-solid, solid colour kind of girl at heart. This is Flowers for Yasha by Hannah, who is the lovely Corner of Craft, or under her umbrella for her dyeing, it's Chromatic Yarns. And this was part of her Knitable Roll Yarn Club last year. And Hannah couldn't have got the colours more right. It's based on Yasha, who is a barbarian? She is an ASMR character, and she's very monochrome. She wears black and white and has black and grey hair and black and white hair. And she collects dried flowers, and it's come out exactly as I'd hoped when I ordered the yarn. And I think I might have another to do, maybe not a full one, but maybe one with a contrasting rib and straps. So I will probably do that just to use it up. I did try and do a bit of colour work with this yarn before, and it just didn't work. There wasn't enough contrast because of the way the colours were for me. But yeah, really love. I like this because it is so practical in my wardrobe, and I'm really working towards that. And also it's a very quick knit, and that's not necessarily because I want quick knits, but to be able to produce something that's so useful to me so quickly. In between larger projects, if I'm maybe feeling, I'm trying not to get to that stage, but if I maybe felt burnt out or a little bit drained, I think this is a great project for me to come to. You know, I feel like I'm really achieving quite a lot because these tops, like I said, get worn almost every day. And with that comes my next project. I did feel like when summer hit, though these ones are really good, I wanted something just a little bit lighter. I love my high-waisted linen trousers. I've actually got them on. And they sit really quite high up, which is great, and my top just about sits over it if it's so I wanted to knit something, or at least try it, something a little bit smaller that's a little bit more summer friendly, although it doesn't get too hot here frequently. We did have some pretty hot days last year, and there were days where wearing the merino wool I'm wearing now wasn't by no means uncomfortable, but I could have less fabric, so I'm gonna try it. So I have the framework bralette pattern again by Jessie May, and I finished it at the weekend in like less than 24 hours. I started it at maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon and then bound it off at 9 o'clock on Sunday morning while we watched a bit of, you know, Sunday morning television. So I used Paintbox Yarns Cotton DK, which I had purchased for Sands and Sunsets, I believe it's called, by Unwind Knitwear. I love Rachel's patterns. If you don't know Rachel and you don't know Unwind Knitwear, I think she's become very popular lately, which is really cool to see. She does have a beautiful collection of patterns, and while I love and would like the item, and I picked colours that were perfect for me, the Sand and Sunsets cardigan, I didn't enjoy mosaic knitting. I did not enjoy slipping stitches, and while I loved one of the textures in particular, it wasn't bringing me joy, and I knew that it would feel like a slog, so I took it off the needles quite a long time ago, and then last week I actually went to the effort of winding the yarn back into balls, and I don't really know why I hadn't done it sooner, but it's done now, and it felt quite lovely to have yet another thing sort of put aside. I've got a drawer of grey and black and greyish, like bay greyish yarn that are sort of the colours that I'm most drawn to, and a bit more practical. That all this yarn is now satin. And so I used that. I used I think this is the lighter grey that I've got, and I thought I would probably do a couple in different light, medium and dark if I've got enough yarn for it, because it would be incredibly practical. I could probably layer it under these and get a little bit more coverage and a little bit more warmth, but also I thought this would be lovely underneath my mohair ranunculus, both of them. Probably the dark would need a darker one, and this would be good for the lighter one, and my cherry and things like that. So the little tops, I'm really happy with how it came out. Actually, it fits really nicely. I modified it by giving it a flat back, and that's, oh, I've got it inside out actually. It's this way. There you go, that's much better. But I modified it to have, you'll probably be able to tell better now actually. You see, it's flat, and that's, just see how she do both sides with the triangles, and that's just not necessary for me. I quite like having my back free, so I just modified it that by binding off much sooner. And yeah, like I said, I'm really happy with this. I will definitely knit more. I think the DK weight is, you know, maintains modesty, which is something that I quite like to have, but I also like the freedom of not too much clothing in the summer. So yeah, really a great little pattern, very simple, no fuss. In fact, we watched a lot more of a series than we've done in a long time. I think we must have watched like 3 hours of TV in an evening, and I could be watching the TV. There was not very much having to pay attention to this. So yeah, great little pattern, very, very useful, and I think I am really being conscious of what I'm knitting and making sure that these things are useful to me. I actually did a mood board, or a series of mood boards last week that I've shared on my Ko-fi, which can't be any more grateful than I really am for those supporting, and those that have supported in the hope of me sending the waterford swirly top pattern to a tech editor. I think I'm going to do that this afternoon and see if we can move forward with that. So that's really exciting. Thank you so very much. Yeah, so to make my mood board, I went into my bedroom wardrobe space and took photographs fairly close up of items that I wear a lot, things that I'm most drawn to, and I did a big mood board that had just a selection of all of them. And then I remembered that I wanted, or that I'd spoken about how my taste changes from season to season, as I'm sure many people's does. And then I got a lovely comment, and it was very much reiterating that you said that your outfits change through the year and your choices change. I'd love to see that, so I actually did that. I took a few more pictures of items that I knew I wore more seasonally, because at the front I had tried to just do a overview, and it changes quite a lot, and actually I personally think it quite reflects the seasons. I sort of get springs, medium in lightness, summer's the lightest, autumn tends to bring in some mustards and some autumn tones, and then winter's definitely the darkest. And I found that quite interesting to see, because although I knew that was the case, I didn't know it was quite to that extent. So that kind of really helped me actually acknowledge what holes I wanted to fill, and most of that was cardigans and little tops, because I have small selections of little vest crop tops, actually not too dissimilar from these Jessie May ones really, that some of them are 15, 16 years old at this point, blacks that look grey and whites that look grey, and that's where the biggest holes in my wardrobe are. And that's fairly easy to fill, especially now I know that I've got these two patterns to go from, and so that's kind of helped me. I do know that cardigans will be something that I would really like to work on over the next year or so before I move on to the next stage of my big picture project, so to speak, where I start travelling the world through knitting. Not literally at home from the comfort of my own home. Hopefully connecting with knitters like yourself and learning about either your ancestry or suggestions of places to visit. Latvia might be quite cool. But yeah, so I would like to get a couple of cardigans knitted in the next sort of 9 months or so. Is it 9 months? 7 months, I think. How's time going this quickly? And yeah, so I'm just gonna get this one. So with that, I haven't shared this yet. I cried quite a lot when I received this in the nicest possible way. This was handmade by Maggie, who is the amazing host of the Sonder podcast, which if you haven't seen, I can highly recommend. Maggie has the most wonderful energy and says a lot of things way clearer than I would like to say myself. Articulates things that very eloquently and very well, and I'm sure that comes from her beautiful heart and also from the amount of reading she achieves. So Maggie, thank you so much, and I will be showing the next thing that you sent me very shortly. So in here is a project I cast on Friday. It arrived in the post, and as quick as I could undo it, I kind of had to just had to wind the yarn. It just felt right. So this yarn is, I know I talk about them a lot, but I truly love knitting with it, and the fact that it has such a, to me, a good provenance. It's non-superwash, the colours are heavenly, and this is some more Whistle Bear. So I have both the Evening Bell and the Cheviot Marsh, and this colour is Cherry Mallow and this one is Moorland Mist. So as you might have got from this is the Ranunculus, a pattern by Midori High Rose, or Knit Cafe Midori I believe is the design name. One of the most knitted patterns on Ravelry I believe, and for me it's for a very good reason. It's really comfortable, really wearable for both, you know, fancy occasions, for being at home as much as we are. I love these sleeves. It's a little bit, you know, it does lift, but I get so much wear out of this. This one is knitted in Railwork DK, that I've knitted two of the versions like this, sort of DK or Aran weight yarn is what I used personally, and I went down a needle size or two for it, because I am pretty small, and it is sort of a one size fits most pattern with you can purchase an add-on. I'm not sure how that works for a larger bust. And I've knitted two versions in just mohair, which is great because it uses very little yardage. So those one skein, like your magic skeins of mohair or fingering weight yarn, you could get one of these out of, which is kind of cool. And I've opted to gift my olive green one away. Having looked at my mood board, I really am drawn to green, but that is quite bright for me, and I quite like a dirtier green, for lack of a better word. And I had thought about over dyeing it, but at the risk of it not taking much more yarn because of the colour, I thought gift it. And I'm knitting another Ranunculus. I had to stop myself, and not in a bad way, like a forced stop, but in a you're going to want this project to last a lot longer way. And I'm really happy. So I'm holding two 4-ply yarns together, and I'm loving the fabric that's coming out, and I've already divided for the sleeves. So there was me thinking I would, you know, do a little bit of the yoke and then get to put it aside, do a little bit more, and come back to something that was a bit more interesting than just stocking knit. I got carried away and it kind of knitted itself. So I did not do any knitting on it on Saturday, but I did go back to it Sunday night whilst we played Dungeons and Dragons, which is so much fun, especially since, thank you so much Mary, I can't thank you enough for being our lovely DM, especially since you're a knitter yourself. But we've got a little knitting group that plays D&D together, so we get to knit and play Dungeons and Dragons, and the whole campaign is based around the fibre world very, very loosely. Mary's been clever and has not done anything kitsch, but maybe I'll talk more about that another day because it's quite a niche subject. I am looking for another campaign at the moment. I am actively trying to find a group of so that took so long to focus that I can't actually remember what I was saying, so let's come back to the Ranunculus. This is a very clear, very simple pattern to work. If you are a fairly new knitter, I would say you could definitely give it a try. It's not difficult, just read the instructions and do as it says. I've had quite a few people talk about the cast on being either putting them off or seeming really difficult. I promise you it's really very simple. It really is. I think there's a video, watch it, and if you get stuck, don't be afraid to ask. It is really worth the effort too. It gives such a lovely finish. The stitches, again, are simple. There's nothing complicated. You just need to keep an eye and learn to read the knitting a little bit, which I think this is a really good pattern, because if things do go a little bit awry and it's not that major, it doesn't notice because of the texture. But I found that the fifth time I've knitted this, an absolute dream, which doesn't happen very often. I'm sure you'd get bored of knitting the same thing multiple times if it wasn't such a wonderful pattern. And the same with the Secret Little Crop I've knitted. I think maybe that might be my 7th or 8th now. I've gifted a couple away. I think they make great gift knits for friends. One of them was to someone who does yoga, and it makes a great outfit or top that you can obviously be really playful with. But you're wearing with, I only have colourful yoga pants, but mostly I have black, so it's quite nice to have some slightly more fun, you know, especially on the yoga mat. Anyway, gorgeous pattern. I have gone down a needle size again, just check, yeah, so these are 5mm needles, so I believe it calls for 6. I'm pretty small, it's 4-ply held double. It's still got a little bit of air to it, which I was kind of hoping for. I felt like Cheviot Marsh and Yvering Bell together with the mohair is going to be quite warm, but I wanted it to still have a little bit of airflow, and this sits really nicely alongside my mood boards for spring and summer, so that is really happy. She's a talker today. The sun's come out, if you can't tell, and it's already instantly made me a little bit giddy. Oops. So my final project to share with you is living in this bag that lovely Natalia of Nat Knits Crafts made for me last year, or the year before. Can't be that long ago. Yeah, it was the year before. Wow, and sent it as a surprise, and I hope that Natalia finds some energy and can send more of these into the world. And this was the first one she ever made, and as you can tell, it's seen a lot of wear, and I'm hoping to do a good old wash of all my project bags soon. And living in here is, again, part of the reason that I cried so much when Maggie sent me a lovely care package. Maggie sent me 4 full skeins of Peace Fleece. This is the Amaranth colourway, and it is 75% Navajo Rambouillet and domestic fine wool and 25% mohair. It is so gorgeous. This is the, I said the colourway name, didn't I? Amaranth. I'll double check it. And I specifically held off knitting it because I was so excited and I didn't want to cast on something that I might not truly love. But once I cast it on, I couldn't stop knitting, and I have since put it down for a little bit. So I'm in two minds. I've cast on, and you can see I've got quite far. I've almost finished what would be the body before dividing for the sleeves. I'm on a bottom up jumper. So I was re-knitting the Land Girl jumper by Whistlebear. And it works perfect, and I think it would be beautiful, but having done my mood boards, I kind of think that a cardigan would be much more useful. Especially because I have quite a few band t-shirts and it seems a shame not to represent the music that I love, because if you don't know me too well, you might not realise how much music means to me, I guess. I absolutely love it. I could talk about it for hours, even though I don't play, and I very much wish I could. I love music so much, and it would be really fun to wear band t-shirts and my hand knits and get the best of both worlds, like Hannah Montana or Miley Cyrus. Shut up, cat. So I don't know. I'm not sure if I should try and Frankenstein the pattern, because I do think it would make a great, very basic drop shoulder cardigan. Or do I knit something totally different? I was considering knitting the Sunday cardigan by Petite Knit, since I have it in my pattern library. But I'm not convinced. I really didn't like and I know that it's been modified to not do so, that it utilises short rows to stop, but the front on that cardigan dropped so much for me the first time, and I gave it away, and I'm not sure I want it again. I don't know, I think something different would be better, especially in this yarn. So I'm not sure whether to continue knitting and steek, which I think actually might be the way to go, having spoken with you. But if anyone has any suggestions of, you know, great cardigan patterns that they love. I keep seeing Felix cardigans, and whilst I love that, I do think it's a beautiful, simple pattern, and I could modify it. I don't, to not have this. The lace eyelets, I actually don't think I would like, and that might sound strange, but I don't know that with a cardigan I would want the top showing through. I don't know, maybe that's really niche and really specific, but I don't know why. I just get the impression for me that would bother me slightly. You know, like having a strap show, which if this was any wider I would probably have an issue with. I think it's fine. So I don't know, but I think it's quite important to know the things that might make you not use an item so much in your wardrobe. So yeah, whilst the yarn feels amazing, and actually I think I love the fabric that this is giving me. I'll try and film a little bit of a close-up as I normally do. It will blow out, I'm sure, but it is a gorgeous fabric. And I highly recommend going and having a look on the website for Peace Fleece. I didn't personally think I would ever get to knit with it. It is very fair priced, but America, customs or shipping, all of that thing that makes it completely not viable for me. So I'm so grateful to have been gifted it. I really am. I couldn't express it much more. I'm not very good with words, but I wanted to just touch on it. I'm going to slightly read from the website rather than try and say it in my own words and not get it across, but I'll summarise slightly. But I would recommend going and having a little look and reading through it, because it is a really lovely story. Peter and Marty moved to the small town of Porter, Maine, in the foothills of the White Mountains in 1974, as part of the Back to the Land movement. Marty made pottery, Peter went logging with the horses, and they both started a small flock of sheep. Hi, sweet pea. But living at the end of a dirt road, growing their own food, shearing their own sheep, and cutting their own firewood did not protect them from the threat of a nuclear war between the Soviet Union and the United States. In 1985, Peter had an idea and travelled to Moscow with a proposal. So he went to Russia and purchased a batch of fleece and spun it in America as and called it peace fleece, basically. Warm wool from a cold war became the peace fleece motto, and I think that's amazing. It only takes one person to do something nice and it can have such a triggering, wrong word, domino effect. But summarising very much again, in 2008, Peter and Marty's son Silas was asked to film a horseback ride by the Lakota and Dakota Native Americans to commemorate the death by hanging of 40 of their ancestors in 1863. The effect the film had on Peter was profound and begged these questions. Rather than working overseas, should we not refocus Peace Fleece's efforts to understand what we did to the Native Americans? So that inspired him to purchase the first native rambouillet from the Cook Ranch, and that's kind of where they are today. I really recommend going and having a good read, because it wasn't just Russia, and it wasn't Native America only. I think it's really interesting. It's got a beautiful story, and yeah, that yarn is giving me life and joy, but I'm just not sure what I should do with it. And rather than continue knitting and maybe regret not just ripping it out and doing something different, I thought I would share with you, open up a dialogue about that maybe, and come back to it. And even if I do continue with it, at least I've had time to think about it and really be intentional with it. Yeah, so that's that for today. I'm shrinking down because I've brought my knees up and the weight. So I really hope that you have had a lovely little time with a project, if you have had some knitting or sewing with you. I hope that you do have a really lovely week. I'm looking forward to getting a little bit of chatting done this week. I haven't been to too many knit nights lately, and by been to I mean we have a knitting lounge on our Discord server and we have knit nights frequently, but we've been in bed by 7 or 8 p.m. most nights in the week, and I've just, we don't start usually till 7, half 7 GMT, so for me I'm just in bed, and that's not a time to have screen time for me. So yeah, I'm hoping to do a bit more of that this week. I feel like I've got a bit more energy to give, which is really exciting to me. I kind of felt like I was really playing a energetic sort of boundary game, trying to claw back the bits that I have and share when I could, but it being really limited. So yeah, I hope that you are able to connect with friends, family, whoever you can, however you can. I think it's really important for us at the moment. I hope that you get a little bit of time doing what you love, and I hope you get to spend a little time looking after yourself. If that's going out for a slightly longer walk than you would, maybe it's making yourself go out for a walk, maybe it's staying hydrated. That's really important for me at the moment. I keep forgetting. So I'm currently carrying my water bottle very much religiously around the house, just it's here, which is a bit silly because each time we've gone to go out for a walk I I can't find the lid of my bottle. I don't put the lid on it when I'm around the house, but if it's not in here, I will forget, because I will forget. With that, I really hope to see you again very soon. Have a lovely week and I will see you then. There you go.
Need more speed.
You got a need for speed.